The aviation industry facilitates trade while fostering connectivity. Sadly, however, the coronavirus pandemic has broken the chain of accelerated growth in a manner that the world has never experienced. Closure of borders, lockdowns, movement restrictions, and the travel bans have crippled the sector such that domestic airline operators put the cost at almost 400 billion naira, resulting in over 250,000 staff being laid off. The good news, however, is that the recovery has started since there are new safe protocols in place to beat the virus. But how soon will the once robust industry regain its glory? This is our focus on Panorama from the Lagos Network Center. I am Dotsun Okunyemi. The federal government has reduced the pump price of petrol by 5 naira following its meeting with organized labor on Monday. The Minister of Labor and Employment, Chris Ngige, has confirmed that the reduction would bring down the pump price of premium 162 naira 44 kobo. Ngige further stated that the new price regime would take off from next Monday, 14th December. He disclosed that the cut in price did not represent a discontinuation of deregulation in the industry, as it was not a cut on the price of crude oil, but a committee would be appraising the market forces and every other thing that would make for stability in the industry, as well as liaising with all the marketers to ensure that the capitalization is always maintained. The committee would report back to the meeting on the 25th January 2021. Ngige also noted that the Electricity Committee had made tremendous progress in continuation of its activities and would also report back on the 25th January 2021. President of the Nigerian Labour Congress, Comrade Ayuba Waba, said the price stability would protect poor Nigerians from the volatility of the oil and gas market. The second demand, which has to do with the issue of electricity tariff, will have to wait till next year. President Muhammadu Buhari has warned that any act of hooliganism behind lawful and peaceful protest will be dealt with decisively. Declaring open the 2020 Chief of Army Staff Annual Conference virtually, the President was emphatic that there is no compromising the peace and stability of the country. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo reports.
I want to reiterate our government's commitment to the rights of citizens to embark on peaceful protests. However, this must be done responsibly and in accordance with the laws of the land.
President Muhammadu Buhari may have been responding to reports on plans by NSAS protesters to return to the streets for another round of protests. He commended the armed forces for their efforts at swiftly restoring law and order during what he called the large-scale criminality that ensued in the wake of the last protests in parts of the country.
Let me also use this opportunity to commend the Army for its unwavering commitment towards curtailing the activities of insurgents, armed bandits, kidnappers, cattle rustlers, and other violent criminals through ongoing exercises and operations in different parts of the country. Notably, the exercise Sahel Sanity, launched a few months back in the northwest states to rid the Katsina-Zamfara corridor of marauding bandits. I am happy to note that the commendable progress has been made towards attaining the objectives of the exercise.
The president also noted the tremendous successes achieved by troops during the ongoing Operation Fireball in the northeast, insisting that these efforts be sustained until the full restoration of peace and security. And with the establishment of the state-of-the-art Cyber Warfare Operations Center, President Buhari said the army in particular has remained alive to the changing nature of warfare, which is gradually moving into the cyber domain.
I commend the visionary leadership that has worked assiduously to emplace this vital capability that will fill an existing gap in our nation's security and defense architecture. On our part, I assure you that this administration will continue to do all within available resources to provide for your operational and welfare needs. We must strengthen our collective resolve to address those issues that will make every part of our country a safe and secure place to live and carry out our normal businesses.
The president is delighted that some of the major capabilities procured for the army will soon be inducted into the various theater of operations, as many more await shipment to the country. The conference has as its theme human capacity development in sustaining professionalism and responsiveness of the Nigerian army in the discharge of its constitutional rules. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
Still talking security, members of the National Assembly from Kaduna State have advocated for restructuring of the country's security architecture and introduction of community policing to tackle security challenges bedeviling the country. This was during a security meeting with the Kaduna State Executive Council members, traditional rulers and local government chairmen in Kaduna. Mohammed Umar Ajengi reports.
Worried by the level of insecurity in the state, the lawmakers are back home at this meeting with key stakeholders with a view to finding realistic solutions to the issue so their constituents can enjoy peace without fear of being attacked by government. Senators Ubasani and Abdukari, along with their House of Representatives counterparts, were briefed by the State Commissioner of Internal Security, Samuel Arwan, on efforts being made by the state government and security agencies.
Of Kachia local government, 10 persons that were kidnapped within.
At the end of the meeting, Senator Obasani briefed journalists on far-reaching decisions.
The first step to be taken is to look into the restructuring. For me, restructuring means different things for different people, because we believe there must be state police if we want to solve the problem of insecurity in this country.
It was resolved that the security engagement meeting will be held with other critical stakeholders until lasting peace is restored to Kaduna State. I am Muhammad Umar Ajingi, NTA News.
And away from security, the timeless delay experienced in hearing of appeals due to the volume of cases in the docket and the limited number of justices available to hear them has been described as a bane in the nation's judicial system while working towards decongestion of cases in courts. Abalore Ogbara reports that this was the highlight at the opening of the annual Conference of Justices of the Court of Appeal held in Lagos. Of the Court of Appeal, Justice Monica Dongbam Mesem said out of over 4,630 appeals and 6,207 motions pending in the Lagos Division of the Court, a total of 345 appeals were scheduled for hearing, comprising 289 commercial appeals, 10 human rights appeals, and 46 criminal appeals. She said the task of decongesting pending cases is to send warning to the public that the court will no longer be a dumping ground to those who seek to hamper justice delivery in Nigeria.
We have come out to demonstrate our abhorrence to this practice by taking the bull by the horn. This working retreat consists of special court sessions involving 23 special panels. Due to time and space constraints, the panels will sit in batches of 6 special panels on the designated days between the 7th to the 10th of December 2020. From the hours of 9 to 12 p.m. daily, each panel will hear about 15 ripe appeals, with 5 panels sitting at 5 designated courtrooms of the National Industrial Court, Ikoyi, and one panel at the Court of Appeal, Court 1 here.
The appeal court president expressed appreciation to the various heads of courts on the concerted efforts by all to ensure that justice prevails in Lagos. Abolore Ogbara, NTA News. Now, the civil service is regarded as the engine room of any government, and as such, a lot is expected from the heads of service and a smooth and successful running of the sector. It is against this backdrop that the 42nd meeting of the National Council on Establishment for Heads of Service from all states of the Federation was held in Lagos with a view to improving the quality of service in the civil service. Nosa Usla reports that the revised version of the public service rules was also presented to the head of service of the Federation at the meeting.
The 42nd meeting of the National Council on Establishments of all heads of service in all states of the Federation is one of the requirements aimed at improving the civil service for quality service delivery. Declaring the conference open, host Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, who was represented by his deputy Dr. Obafemi Hamzat, says the public service occupies a strategic position in governance which should not be taken for granted.
This era of the total lockdown, occasioned by COVID-19, will sustain our tradition of payment of staff salaries and allowances.
The head of civil service of the Federation, who is also the chairman of the council, Folashade Yemi Eson, acknowledges that Lagos plays a systematic role in providing the stage and structures for the birth of the civil service. She notes that a concerted effort is needed to surmount the various challenges confronting the nation.
A modern Nigerian civil service must remain strategically positioned to develop and drive reforms that will have transformational impact on all sectors of the nation's economy.
The Lagos State Head of Service, Hakeem Muri-Okunola, explained that public servants will not shy away from their duty to revisit identified areas of rules, regulations, and guidelines, including the schemes of service where necessary.
There is no gainsaying to say that today's knowledge and skills may not be sufficient in confronting tomorrow's challenges. The task before us today, therefore, is that of midwifing the requirement improvement in the civil service for quality service delivery.
The council was also urged to, as a compelling necessity, review the schemes of service in line with evolving realities. In Lagos, Nosa Usula, NTA News.
You are watching Panorama coming to you from the Lagos Network Center. Time now for a break. The news continues.
People get their news and information from more media sources than ever before. Some of the news and information given are fake, unverified, doctored, and manufactured to create confusion, stir disaffection, and cause disunity. Before you believe or share any news, ask yourself, is this real? Is it from a credible source? Is it verified or verifiable? Fake news is dangerous. Whether you do it for fun or for political gains, real people can get hurt. Fake news, don't create it, don't spread it.
This is a public service announcement from NTA.
Many thanks for staying with us. 4 billion passengers globally depend on air transportation for social economic activities. It is an unprecedented growth inspired by the International Civil Aviation Authority's guidelines, using its platform as the world marks International Civil Aviation Day. The survival of the industry is under scrutiny.
This is one of the earliest attempts in man's quest to fly, and a noble initiative born out of the conviction that there are greater socio-economic benefits inherent in connectivity. The age-long determination, no doubt, has paid off, with the aviation industry supporting 65.5 million jobs around the world, aside contributing $2.7 trillion to global GDP. This is according to Forbes. At the height of its success story, tragedy struck in form of COVID-19 pandemic, and a once glorious sector is now struggling to survive.
Nigerian Airlines lost almost $1 billion in revenue, as well as an additional $800 million, which these airlines would have been able to remit as charges to the federal government, which will have increased our GDP by 800 million.
Regardless of these challenges, the theme for this year's International Civil Aviation Day is calling for more partnership in ensuring that no country is left behind.
Let the airlines go public. They told them that they should do margin. Okay, if you're not ready to match, go public.
Experts believe Nigeria and the continent can leverage on the single Africa air transport market to create the needed traffic for the survival of the industry amidst the COVID-19 pandemic.
There are some grey areas. One of such grey areas is the infrastructure in place. You need to look at the taxes, you need to look at the cost of the aviation fuel. Aviation fuel within the region is also one of the highest in the world.
Removing BASA agreements and making open sky agreements is a good phenomenon, but I think it should be done gradually so that no country is taking advantage of another country.
Incorporated as an observance day in 1994, the International Civil Aviation Day has become a platform for streamlining safety, efficiency, and uniformity in global aviation practices. In Lagos, Michael Lale, NTA News.
Joining me now via Zoom is Captain Roland Iyayi to discuss the Civil Aviation Organization Day. Many thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much.
All right. How can you describe the situation in the aviation sector presently?
Thank you. I mean, the aviation sector in Nigeria right now is struggling with a lot of different issues, struggling with the turn of the times, the pandemic, struggling with the environment in which it's found itself in order to operate.
Yeah.
I mean, time again we've said it that the operating environment in Nigeria is a bit hostile to the domestic carriers particularly, simply because a lot of all the issues that most foreign airlines will take for granted in their country are basically things that we struggle to have in Nigeria. So to a large extent, the industry is struggling to survive at this present time. And unfortunately, that would be the case until those issues that would...
All right, without mincing words, COVID-19 has dealt a big blow on the sector. How can we stimulate recovery from here? All right, we seem to be having some technical difficulties with our guest there, Captain Roland Iyayi, but we would join him later if the network... Okay, I believe he's back now. Captain Roland, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right, so I was asking you that without mincing words, COVID-19 has dealt a big blow on the sector. How can we move forward in terms of stimulating recovery?
Well, to stimulate recovery of the industry at this point, I think there's a major need, an urgent need for the government to facilitate the injection of capital to the airlines so that they can actually use that to cushion the effect, to a large extent, of the effect of the pandemic. I mean, if you recall, all through that period, all the domestic carriers were forced to put their aircraft in active storage. What that essentially meant was that they needed to spend so much money in ensuring the airworthiness status of all these airplanes through the pandemic period. Now, by not earning any income and spending whatever reserves they had, would mean that by the time they're ready to operate, they were very short, in terms of cash. So there's a need at this point for the government to help by providing some sort of capital injection into the industry for the airlines to be able to recover some of their unutilized capacity and then be able to also launch services into most of the areas of the domestic market which at this point they have not even gotten into yet.
All right, That was going to be my next question. Really, how do we keep domestic airlines afloat with the cost of operations, obviously now more than what they are earning?
But the truth is, there are a lot of areas the government can look at in terms of managing the situation. There's the issue of fuel. Airlines burn, as a matter of fact, spend about 40% of their non-direct operating costs on fuel. Now, we have refineries in Nigeria that don't refine the jet fuel, the jet A1. So, invariably, it's still important. If the government can take out that area by ensuring that we have a good supply, an affordable supply of jet A1 fuel, that would manage about 40% of the cost of airlines in the country. The other element that needs to be looked at is the issue of taxes, fees, and charges. There's a multiplicity of charges the airlines have to bear in the industry. That needs to be looked at. And then again, there's a need for the government to look at the policy it operates for the airlines to be to operate in the country. The policy is put into effect. If airlines were to be managed and licensed according to the niche market they operate in, then we will have a good spread of airlines flying all over the country and sharing good connectivity. But at this point in time, we seem to have a one-size-fits-all where most of the airlines seem to operate in the major market, which predominantly is Lagos, Abuja, and Port Harcourt. So until we have a situation where that policy is reviewed, such that airlines will be made to operate across the board, all around the country where you have airports, then of course that would not help in the longer term. The other thing also is to ensure that these airlines have access to foreign exchange. The major area that impacts adversely on airline operations is a fluctuation of the foreign currency exchange. If the naira is devalued today, the value of that devaluation can impact the good of any airline company. I mean, if we lose 20% of value in the naira, it means airlines have to look for 22% more cash to be able to deal with the issue. So all these are vagaries that are totally out of the control of airlines, and it makes it almost impossible for airlines to thrive. So if the government will look at all these areas, and these are policy issues really, then go into Nigeria.
All right, thank you so much, Captain Roland Iyayi, for your thoughts and insights on that particular topic. Many thanks. Let's now bring you COVID-19 updates, as latest figures from the Nigeria Center for Disease Control indicates that 390 new cases of the coronavirus have been confirmed as at the 7th of December 2020, bringing the total number of confirmed cases to 69,645. The cases were recorded in 20 states of the Federation. The FCT and Gombe recorded the daily highest of 89 cases each, followed by Kaduna with 62, Lagos 35, Kwara 15, Borno 13, Nasarawa and Rivers have 10 cases each, Bauchi and Ogun have 8 cases each, Osun, Bayelsa and Kano have 7 cases each, Edo and Taraba have 6 cases each, Ekiti and Katsina have 5 cases each, Akwa Ibom 4, Delta 3 and Sokoto 1. Total number of those discharged is 63,282, while 1,173 deaths have been recorded across the country. African economies cannot bear the increasing cost of corruption, which impedes socio-economic development and deprives government the ability to lift its citizens out of poverty. This was the submission of economic experts at a conference organized to profile workable solutions to craft with a view to driving growth and development of the continent. Abolade Salami reports.
The global perception about Africa is that it is a continent where corruption, poverty, and unemployment thrive. This perception may not be too far from the truth, as the Transparency International report states that 43% of Africans are living in poverty, while over $50 billion worth of stolen assets flow out of Africa yearly. The figures may sound alarming though, but the narrative has changed in Nigeria as the present administration frowns at the practice.
Government actions alone cannot and will not be effective. A broad coalition against corruption which encompasses government, private sector stakeholders, the press, the business community, and the general public is necessary.
As the saying.
Up next is Sports Update.
Thanks for joining us on Sports Update. I'm Badi Adeleye. We begin with golf. The Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tuku Yusuf Buratai, has promised to support the development of the game of golf in Nigeria. The Army Chief gave the assurance during the official launch of the TYB International Golf Resort and Country Club, Abuja.
The utilization of this expanse of land will serve a much higher purpose and benefit to members of the Nigerian Army, other services, paramilitary organizations, and the general public as a whole.
A commemorative inaugural Chief of Army Staff Pro-Am tournament also held at the 3-year-old golf course located at the Shehu Yaradua Barracks at Sokoro, Abuja. To polo now, Team Lintex have emerged the 2020 champions of the Kefi Polo tournament after defeating Kefi Ponies 10-5.5 goals in 5 chokers. The week-long tournament, which had 12 participating teams, focused on education this year.
Any society that toys around with education is toying around with the lives and livelihood of the entire people of that society.
To football, Nigeria's Flying Eagles are getting set to take on their Ghanaian counterparts in the second match of Group B at the ongoing Wafu B Under-20 Championship in Benin Republic. The game is a must-win for the Flying Eagles to be able to advance to the next round after their 1-0 draw with Junior Elephants of Cote d'Ivoire on Sunday. Following their 2-1 victory over Raimo FC of Burkina Faso, Nigeria's Enyimba International will meet Al-Merrikh of Sudan in the first round of the 2020-2021 CAF Champions League. Rivers United will slug it out with South African Premier League side Bloemfontein Celtic in the next round of the CAF Confederation Cup. And that will be all on Sports Update. I am Badi Adeleye.
And that's it on Panorama from the Lagos Network Center. Many thanks for watching.
Although social media as a channel of communication is inherently